Good morning, everyone. My name is Greg Rohde. I'm the chair of this session, which is on emergency warning systems. As probably most of you know, the European Union has a mandate that June of 2022, all member states are to be offering emergency alerts over wireless devices to everyone who's in the community, not just simply the residents, but those that are visiting with that. And so today we've got a number of companies here that are going to present their solution that they're providing for emergency warning systems. So the first presentation is going to be from a company called Everbridge, and Everbridge is going to be represented here by Michael Sargeant and Manuel Cornelisse. Did I pronounce that right? Close enough? Close enough. Sorry about that. So they're going to have 40 minutes for their presentation, and if they want to have some time for Q&A, I'll let them open it up for that. So feel free to have your questions and interact with the presenters in terms of the questions that you have. So thank you very much. Please.
Thank you. So good morning, everybody. My name is Michael Sargeant, and along with my colleague Manuel, I was going to say his last name in Dutch, but I've given up. We're going to have a presentation about Everbridge and how our customers currently use our technologies to meet their needs of public warning. So Everbridge is a European leader within the domain of public warning and public safety. We've got a global footprint. And we have no third-party dependencies, meaning that from a mobile operator perspective on cell broadcasting or location-based SMS, we deliver technologies from the end at the operator end to the front end at the client, making sure that we have full control about the changes and needs of a client during the lifetime of their systems. We're a global provider, but we have technology that is designed, engineered, built, and supported in Europe. They are fully European solutions built along with our European clients over time, and now also our global clients, to make sure that our technologies meet the needs that are currently out there. Fully compliant with Article 110, so they are, top-of-the-art public warning systems. In terms of a global footprint, Everbridge today, I believe, is the only provider of public warning that has implementations in every continent of the world. Today we have more than 23 countries utilizing the technology in public warning, and not disclosing our last contracts, I believe about 1 billion people are touched through our public warning solutions to date. Going into the European aspect, 8 countries in Europe depend on Everbridge for their public warning systems. In addition, we have a strong foothold also in the public safety aspect, with an additional services of crisis management and emergency management to 3 countries in Europe. For Everbridge, we see the relationship between a country or client as a long-standing partnership, and a partnership that will grow over time, and we are committed to make sure that over time that partnership is able to flourish and meet the needs, meet the needs of the clients. And that means that from early detection all the way to dissemination of messages through either cell phones or mobile phones or other types of channels of communication, we support our clients to make sure that the message is received by the people that need to have them. Today there are 2 technologies that are supported by the BEREC guidelines, and we'd like to talk a little bit more about how our clients use these technologies to meet their needs. So the first technology I'd like to spend some time on is location-based SMS. Now, location-based SMS might be known to quite a few of you. It also might be known as the technology which isn't as fast as cell broadcast in terms of dissemination and sending out masses of messages in seconds, but it has some amazing features, which does strengthen the ability of a country to respond to incidents around the world, in their own country. And I'd like to spend some time on those features and how our clients use those features in their public warning situations. The first one, which is, in my opinion, the coolest feature, is situational awareness. And the situational awareness for many might not be very clear. I'm going to get back into that a little bit, but it's basically about crowd movement, seeing, visualizing how many SIM cards are in an area at a given point of time, what nationalities are present in that area. So knowing, in the event of something to happen, how many people am I communicating to, and what nationalities do I need to think about? So how many languages do I need to disseminate message in? And that's a very visual and cool feature of a system which helps plan for an event or during an event. Another thing is two-way communication, because we're talking very much about public alerting and public warning, but sometimes it has to be public communication, which means that the recipients might need to communicate back to the users, because you are, for example, evacuating an area, and you need to have a confirmation that nobody needs help to evacuate. If people might be handicapped, disabled, and they might need to communicate back, say, hi, I need help. And the user of the system will receive a message in their interface from the location, the telephone number, and the message that's sent back so that they can take action. Other things are multi-language. So multilingual messaging is an important part of a critical communication, because mostly we are communicating to masses, and masses means lots of different people. People come from many different places, and we don't all speak the same language. So being able to communicate in the right language means that people ultimately understand the message and are able to react to it in the right way. And then a really important feature, which often isn't discussed, is the ability to follow up. Location-based SMS, you can send out messages to an area and, for example, evacuate, which is great if that's the purpose of the need. What happens is you're taking a big crowd of people out of an area, and those people then are, they're psychologically worried, they don't know what to do, they need messages, they need more information, they need to continue to be informed by the government or by the incident response teams to make sure that they have the right information for the incident. And most important of all might then be the last follow-up message, which is the all clear. When are you okay to return to that zone? So a follow-up message is actually a feature that might not seem such a big deal, but is actually a really important key to an emergency alert process. So something that location-based SMS really brings as a strong feature to the table. And then we have this big cloud of uncertainty, which is congestion. Over many years, we've talked about congesting because we're sending thousands of messages through the mobile networks. And obviously, there's a truth to that. I mean, if you're sending enormous amounts of messages through a network, you can risk to congest the network. And the question is how to handle that. So Everbridge, many years ago, developed a patented technology for congestion control, which basically means that when we're pushing thousands of messages a second into networks, we're listening to the mobile networks down to a cell level to monitor and reduce the speed if needed to make sure that we can continue to send out the maximum amount of messages, but without affecting a mobile network negatively. So automatically monitors and reduces the cells that need to be reduced in terms of to make sure that the network is up and keeps running. And obviously, it's not an app. It doesn't need subscription. You need a SIM card. You need a device that can receive an SMS. If you're in an area, you'll receive the message. So that said, I'd like to talk a little bit about how some of our clients today use public warning systems and what makes them special, these systems. So the first one for me, the obvious one to start with, would be Sweden. And the reason for that is Everbridge has had probably a 10-year-long or longer relationship with Sweden, a partnership on public warning. And Sweden's also the pioneer of location-based SMS as a nation in Europe. The first national system based on a location-based SMS in Europe was put in place by Sweden with 4 mobile operators, fully delivered by Everbridge, and it's been a very successful story. But location-based SMS itself is not why I think Sweden's been very successful with a public warning system over the years. It's because they've looked at the total approach of public warning. It's been communicating with residents when the need. So basically meaning, do I have to be in the area to be alerted by an incident? No, I don't. I mean, I have interests in areas of that event. I can live there. I might be at the office or I might be traveling. But if there's a forest fire and next to my house, I still want to be informed. So you can use other technologies alongside, for example, location-based SMS, to make sure that your population, your residents are informed and in a good manner about any situation that might occur. In addition, Sweden doesn't necessarily only look at the external parts when it comes to public warning system. They also have an emergency notification system in the whole package, which talks about informing their internal resources across agencies. So the ability to send out SMS and voice messages to the resources in need, but also Tetra messages. So it's integrated with the channels they need to communicate to the people that they have the need to communicate to in a timely manner. And then through the times, we've always helped to comply to the technological changes that the advances have come. 3G, 4G, now 5G. The system will always be compliant to the technologies to meet the needs of the clients. And now for the last year or so, we've been testing also cell broadcast with the Swedish government. If the choice is to go forward with cell broadcast as an additional channel, well, that's not a problem at all. The system easily can plug in cell broadcast and is already cell broadcast compliant. So we will continue to support Sweden in the needs that they have for many years to come, we hope. Going from that multi-channel approach, I want to spend a little bit of time on Iceland. And the reason why Iceland is my choice is because the way they use situational awareness. So Iceland is a really interesting place. It's an island in the middle of the Atlantic. There's only 300 and so thousand people that live there, but they have volcanoes, and they have blizzards, and they have avalanches, and they have industrial accidents like every other country. And they're this little place far away from everybody else, but that are touched by nature's wrath once in a while. And to make that complicated is that they have 2.6 million visitors a year, 300 and some thousand inhabitants, but 2.6 million visitors. Well, maybe not for the last year and a half, but prior to that, and hopefully again, visitors will come back. And that makes things complex because when you are an Icelandic person, you go to school and you grow up, you know about what to do in a blizzard because that's part of your genes. You know that. But if you're a tourist from Spain or China, or wherever you want to come in, you might not be aware of the precautions you need to take when events happen, and weather can change very quickly. So being able to communicate to tourists and knowing how many people are in different areas are really important to Iceland. Therefore, they depend on the situational awareness of the system. And I would dare to say that Iceland might be the most advanced systems in some aspects based on the fact that they use the mobile operator's knowledge of SIM cards in an area to understand how many people are in this affected area, where are they from, and if I need to alert, what areas are the important parts to communicate to, and what's the message. So this is proven to be really powerful for Iceland, and anytime there's an event, regardless if they have to send a message or not, they use the system to understand and get knowledge about preparing for the event that if they need to communicate, they know what to do. This is something that I believe should be the future of any public warning system in terms of the value it brings to the users. And if you want to learn more about that, please come and visit. We can demo it, on our stand. And then talking about a pandemic, me being a Norwegian, I can't not talk about Norway. So the Directorate of Health of Norway is a client of Everbridge. They have a session at 11:30, track 2, I believe. Anyway, for the people that want to see this, I think it's going to be interesting. They're going to go much deeper into the topic than I am. But as a Norwegian, when things happen in my own country, we want to support. It's part of who we are. It's our home field, so we would like to support anyway. So when the pandemic hit in Norway, like every other country, suddenly we were faced with this global challenge, and communication is looked at in a different way somehow. So Norway the Director of Health didn't have the need to blow out messages to one area because the pandemic is everywhere. They didn't have to send out messages to the whole country because I, as a Norwegian, read the news. I know what's going to happen in the country because I follow the pandemic. I follow the news, I read, I understand it. But what about people coming into the country? Because even though we're closed down, you have goods coming in. I mean, the country still has to function, so you have truck drivers, and you do have some tourists and visitors during different times. And these people are traveling into the country. They don't know what's going on necessarily or what the regulations are. So the ability to use a location-based technology to segment and communicate only with certain parts of the population was really important. So what we enabled was that we only alerted people coming into the country of specific nationalities or all foreign nationalities or all Norwegians and foreigners coming in, depending on the message and update. So every week or every second week, there were changes into the quarantine rules and other regulations, making sure that the Norwegian government or the Directorate of Health was able to continue to communicate with people coming in with the right message, so they knew what kind of regulations, what kind of quarantine rules were important for them at that time. And if it changed, they would send out new messages. So you come in again, you receive a new message. If you leave the country and come in again in the same frame of time where there's no change in regulations, well, you're not going to receive a new message because the same rules apply. So you're not going to be bombarded with messages, but if there's a change in the messaging, you need to know that. So that's been one of the challenges which are really interesting. Another thing is, Norwegians like to travel abroad. We're from a cold country. I mean, sometimes it's nice to have some sun and some heat on our skin. So we leave and we go south, and a lot of us go to Spain, as an example. I think at most normal instances, there are 36,000 Norwegians living in Spain, often pensioners or retired people. But they live around the country, and we still travel. So during the pandemic, in the beginning of the pandemic, countries were changing color frequently. They were green, they were yellow, they were red, they were yellow, they were red again, and they were yellow. And the interesting thing with that was Norway doesn't have the right to warn a Norwegian citizen in another country because that's the responsibility of that country. So Spain, for example, in this case, is the authority that needs to warn a Norwegian in their country. But Norway still needs to notify and inform and communicate with their citizens because they care for their citizens. So many years ago, we developed a technology called Travel Alert, which is really defined for natural disasters and terror attacks and big critical issues abroad where Norwegian citizens or any country's citizens really needs to be notified by their home government on what to do. How do you get home? Who do you contact? All this can be done based on the location-based technology that you have in your home networks because you take your phone with you when you travel. And using that, they were able to communicate with Norwegians in all the different countries of Europe and the other countries of the world based on the changes in the regulations from Norway to those countries, because it wasn't Spain that changed their regulations, it was Norway say that the situation in this case in Spain is so critical that it turns red at midnight on Friday. If you arrive back after that, you have to go into 2 weeks quarantine. Make sure you come home safely if you want. This is your window of time. So they kept communicating to their citizens traveling abroad with their mobile phones based on where they were. There's no subscription, there's no app. It's basically you have your phone with you, you can communicate with your citizens in other countries at the touch of a button. And then there's a system in Australia, which is really interesting as well, because Australia has had a public warning system for years. It's not new in Australia, a public warning system. We didn't deliver that public warning system, but it comes to a point where government needs to evolve. New needs come, you need to have new features, you need to upgrade your systems, and for that, Everbridge was the partner of choice for Australia to upgrade their front-end system, the government's front-end, with the intelligence and technology to lift that public warning system to a modern era. And at the same time, put on the responsibilities of the carriers to upgrade their back ends to comply to our standards of public warning, make sure that it was to a high standard. And it's been an interesting process, an interesting travel, and I think it's going to be a huge success. And in addition to this, it allows Australia to look into the future as well. What's the next step for Australia? And at the moment, that looks like it's going to be cell broadcasting, and that's great. That's great that it's going to have cell broadcasting. That means just that they're going to add resilience to their system to make sure that they can communicate with their population or the visiting population if needed. And right now, that will be supported by our public warning system, because they have a high of standard public warning system ready for to evolve with the needs of the future. And on the topic of cell broadcast, I will leave the rest of this to Manuel.
Okay, thank you very much. So, Manuel Cornelis, happy to be back here after 2.5 years of absence. In the last 2.5 years, a lot of things have happened. Good things and bad things. COVID has affected a lot of us. Also, the way we look at emergency communications, and it also has accelerated several of the projects that we're involved in. We heard Michael talk about getting insights in where people are. Who are they? What are they doing? How can we help them with information to do the right thing? And where does this cell broadcast public warning then fits in? Because isn't it just the same thing? There is a nuance to it. Cell broadcast is a technology which is more directive. It's unaware of any subscribers. Does not know anything about who is where, how much, so there are no eyes on the ground. What Michael has shown is the ability to know how many people there are. And if you tell them to evacuate via Bridge A, are they really evacuating via Bridge B, or are they taking the A route, which they're used to? However, they can't use it right now. So having the ability to actually know what's happening on the ground. So broadcast is a directive way of telling people what to do at that time, during a certain period of time. So a cell broadcast alert message is not a one-off message. You're not sending one message. No, it's a guidance to safety in a certain area. And for one event, you could have multiple guidance to safety in different areas around that area. If there is a chemical gas cloud coming towards you, the people in that area, they need to evacuate, full stop. The people around that area need to stay indoors to make way for those people who need to get out. So the same event, but multiple guidance to safety. And over time, they will change. Typically, an event is 2 hours, 3 hours, and during that time frame, information change is updated, and different guidances, updates need to be given. And that's where cell broadcast public warning comes in. Or actually, we're talking about cell broadcast public warning, but effectively, we are talking about EU alert. For the user, the citizen, it's the EU alert experience, which is tightly connected to the WEA standards of the US. The technology in the mobile network to get the alert into the phone and how to deal with that, that is still the good old cell broadcast, which we have pioneered. Already in the mid-90s on 2G and 3G, 4G, 5G now, and it has been evolving. And it's still evolving. Yesterday I heard questions about geo-targeting. How specific can you actually geo-target? Is it based on a county level, on a cell level? Well, it started out in the US on a county level. Gradually it went on to a cell level, because the way a mobile network works is you have different cells for each technology, for 2G and 3G and 4G, and they are servicing that particular area. So the granularity of targeting is all associated with the service area that particular cell is actually offering. But that can be quite large along a highway, but it can be quite small if you have a cell in a building like this. The vision of the FCC in the US was to be able to get down to a block level. So could guide people on one side of the street to one direction, and the other side to the other. With regular cell broadcast, it was impossible, because the dynamic nature of the mobile network is continuously changing. So what they did, they looked at AML. AML is, well, using the phone's own capability. We're using this to navigate wherever we are, indoor, outdoor, to where we need to go. Wouldn't it be nice if we could marry the characteristics of this impenetrable warning mechanism and combine it with the ability of the mobile to geolocate itself? And that's now part of WEA 3. So the next generation of cell broadcast public warning is already here, meaning that on a meter accuracy, we can now tell people where to go. Fully backwards compatible. The user experience of WEA, or EU Alert, it's quite intrusive. It's built for purpose. So it has a unique ringtone, which is distinct from any other ringtone that you know of. It's not even allowed to be used in the movies, in cinema. Hollywood is not allowed to use that ringtone, because if in a cinema something is happening, there should not be any confusion between what's happening on the screen or in real life. It has a specific vibration. It needs to be acknowledged. So as a user, you need to click OK, so that you have actually read it, either in the primary language or in supportive languages, which the Crisis Management Agency is sending out. Congestion was already addressed by Michael. It is an issue. At the moment that something is happening, the network will get overloaded. Overload of a mobile network does not mean that the mobile network is down, nothing is happening. However, you can't get the resources to actually get the service, to send a text message, to get a WhatsApp. It's just down, because there are not enough resources to do so. However, is there any link between your phone and the network in overload? Always. There's continuous communications between the phone and the network. And that's the foundation of cell broadcast, because cell broadcast is part of the signaling of the mobile network, meaning it's always available at overload, but also deliberate lockdowns. So one of the procedures we see in certain countries is to turn off, switch off the mobile network for ordinary users. So only first responders or specific handsets are able to utilize the mobile network to give the bandwidth for them to use and to bar any terrorist for using the communication network to do what they're doing. Means that the only way to move forward is cell broadcast. So those are all nice things, but well, you need to start somewhere. And the Netherlands, together with the US, they were on the forefront of mobile phone-based public warning. That was in, let me think, the project started in 2010 after some studies looking into the technology itself. Is this mobile technology fit for purpose? It was deemed okay, so the Dutch government made a decision to implement, and that became in parallel with the introduction of WEA in the US. At that time, it was still uncertain, so they started off with regular cell broadcast. Nowadays, the user experience that I was referring to, with the different severity levels, that's all defined by the CMAS standard, by WEA. So you have the 4 severity levels, the presidential alert level, where nobody can opt out of, extreme, severe, and amber alerts, so missing child alerts. In the Netherlands, they started off with an opt-in service, so people needed to unsubscribe. Within 2 years, the CMAS client was abundant in all phones. As we know right now, all Apple iPhones, it's embedded in iOS, also in Android. It's there, but it needs to be activated, and the phone needs to know that a certain emergency service is being offered at this particular mobile network. And that's done over the air with operator profiles. So nowadays, in the Netherlands, the system is largely based on the EU alert standard / the WEA standard. A question I heard yesterday as well is, well, what's the reach? What can we expect when we launch this type of service? How many people of the population are able to get this guidance? From history, we know that when you start, you are between 30 and 50% of population reach. Within a year, you are at 70%. In the Netherlands, they are already at 94% of population over 12 reached. So that's including people who do not have a handset, have it turned on, did not get any signal, actual proper reach of population, which is fantastic. 94%, it's wonderful. To such an extent that it is deemed mature. The cell broadcast service itself, the NL alert service, it is mature. And they're now moving ahead and looking into the future and implementing the next generation of public warning systems. And that means diversifying the delivery channels. So an example are integration with the public transport system. So in the Netherlands, we have a wide network of all digital displays, over 5,000, at bus, train, tram, and they're all connected to the NL alert system. So at the moment that in that area something's happening, people receive it on their phone and on the screens. One purpose is to actually increase reach, however also helping a call for action. Because if we are in a group and we receive an alert and think together as a collective this is something to take seriously, we do this. But when we're alone, we're looking for verifications on is this real? Is it a test? Is it? There are too many examples that wrong messages have been issued. So reconfirmation for the call of action is very important. So integration with websites, with apps of safety regions, that is currently happening. When you walk in the street, the digital outdoor advertising systems that will do the same. They will show up an alert in that area. But also integrating with the existing systems. So it's not a replace, it's an add-on, an enhancement of existing systems. So for instance, the Dutch government is now integrating the missing child alerts, Amber alerts. So previously, this was a separated system, separated administration, separate channels, and now it's all converging into one service, the EENA alert service, which has a specific severity level, Amber Alert, already available as part of the standards, because it has been built in order to facilitate this. In the Netherlands, there was no real cause or reason to go into this domain. This was more innovation, pioneering, how can we improve our communications. In Greece, it was more tragic because of fires, bushfires. Unfortunately, people got hurt, and that could have been prevented if a system would have been in place. And that set off the implementation in Greece. They were actually, let's call it the second wave of implementation, the first ones to implement Article 110 and make sure that what they were doing was in line with Article 110. What's special, I think, in Greece is that there was a strong collaboration between the mobile operators. So traditionally, and in most cases, we have a distributed architecture. So, of course, the government system is centralized, owned by the government, running at the government, providing access to the system. But the systems for dissemination, they are at the mobile operators within their domain. In Greece, they decided to collaborate together, and the Carrier Association, a non-profit organization representing the 3 carriers there, they stepped up and they procured a, let's call it a big cell broadcast system for servicing all of the mobile operators in Greece. You can imagine that there are sensitivities there, because the cell broadcast system has full operational view of the status of the network. Hence, they asked a neutral party, us, to manage the system for them. So in Greece, it's a system owned by the Greek operators collectively, but it's run by us, by Everbridge. In Greece, we're also providing the governmental front end, by the way, as we are in the Netherlands. New Zealand, driven by the Christchurch earthquake, accelerating the program, because the big one which they are waiting for is coming, and they needed to have a system in place. In New Zealand, they also opted a decentralized approach. However, the government had a very specific philosophy. 2 beautiful islands, but at the moment that New Zealand is struck by disaster, it means that the chances that infrastructure on the islands will be compromised. So they were thinking about geographic redundancy, backup plans, and they came up with a global geographic redundant setup. So the governmental front end is not running on New Zealand premises. It's running in New Zealand, in Sydney, Australia, and the other part is running in California. So the infrastructure to manage these kind of crises, to create the alerts, are offshore, with connectivity via satellite going into the mobile operators in order to disseminate. Another thing of interest is that they've opted to do a non-opt-out. So they've chosen that if the government is sending out an alert, everybody should get it. Because if they're sending it out, your life is in danger, so you need to listen, full stop. They wanted to adhere to standards, so they also took the WEA standard, the CMS standard, but that was focused on the US with the presidential alert, and yesterday my colleague Peter already addressed that. So the caption needed to be changed to emerging mobile alert. And the last one, I think, driven by COVID, is the UK. So programs were already in place to investigate how public warning using cell broadcast could be introduced in the UK. The work group was already being set up in March or April of 2020, and then Corona hit. COVID hit hard, and that put everything upside down. Communication from government towards the public was poor. The need to send out physical letters was quite shameful. So Boris Johnson himself, when infected, he signed off the emergency funds to accelerate this project. And that's what we have been working upon together with DCMS, integrating with an existing system for alerting the government and focusing on the implementation of the cell broadcast systems at the mobile operators. And we were lucky to be selected by 3 out of the 4 mobile operators to do so. And I think the main reason is that this is something that we've done before. For us, for many of our customers, it's the first time. For us, it is business as usual. And it's not that we know what you need to do, but we can help you talk to your peers because they've been facing the same dilemmas that you are having. And we can guide you into the in-crowd and tell what they have done for you to make an informed decision on how to move forward. So this is my last slide. Public safety. What Michael has been referring to is not so much public warning. It's not public alerting, it's the bigger picture of public safety. Public safety means command and control, incident and crisis management, situational awareness, knowing everything that you need to know in a complete chain of functions that need to be pre-integrated in order to make this more efficient. And I see my time is up, so here we are.
Very good presentation. So next we're going to have Pablo Gomez from a company called Genesis. It's not a rock and roll band. So Pablo?
Hello. So, hello everybody. Me is Pablo Gomez from Genesis. Thank you for being here. Thank you also to EENA's organization for this wonderful conference, which is in fact the first opportunity many of us are having, to start going back on track, traveling again, see your faces again, which is absolutely great. So today we are going to talk about multi-channel public warning and evacuation solutions. And first, I would like to introduce Genesis. So they say that an image is better than words, so probably video is even better than images. Therefore, this is what we are. We are Genesis.
We are innovators, disruptors, communicators, armed with the world's most comprehensive and unified platform. We define what it means to deliver critical communications anywhere, anytime. To save lives around the globe during critical situations, we are boldly reshaping the future, opening the doors to advanced technology. We are the creators of LRAD and Critical Communications as a Service with mobile communications and integrated solutions. We are Genesis. The future of critical communications is here.
Genesis means clear communications. It means keeping operations running and saving lives during critical situations.
The future is here. Critical communications. protecting and saving lives. We are Genesis.
Okay, so this is what we are. The critical communications company. So we're understanding critical communications to the capability to communicate to the public before, during, after any kind of emergency you could be facing as emergency managers. We are a company from the United States, having headquarters all over the world, important presence in Europe with a couple of offices and very large team based on Spain, covering the whole continent, not only talking about deployments, but also everything regarding support and training of those products. We try to help you as emergency managers, offering you a critical communication platform, the one in the market unifying software and hardware, so you can cover any kind of complex situation you could be facing, not only at national level, but also covering other different use cases thanks to our flexibility and scalability. So you could be also deploying regional cases or also even local communication systems for big cities or even small towns. We have even references in the corporate market, companies just using our technology just to help their operations keep running just through communication to keep everybody, all the people in the company safe. So when talking about software and hardware, we are referring to, okay, the software platform coordinating all those communication channels, from mobile phones to emails, computers, all those things regarding to, very related to software, let's say. When talking about hardware, we are referring to our long-range acoustic devices. Those, at the end of the day, speakers are able to send clear voice communications to very long distances. We are talking about communicating with voice even 2 kilometers. Okay, we are not new in this market. We've been in this market for more than 20 years, and we have very different kind of deployments based on different technologies and communication channels in more than 70 countries around the world, okay? For instance, we have many cases in the US military defense and law enforcement market. This is the best way of proof that our system can be working in the most critical and hard conditions you can imagine. You know? We work with many US different agencies, from the Army to the Navy. Also, we have deployed different cases talking about nationwide systems. From the systems we have in Australia, the ones in Spain, also system covering the whole state of Puerto Rico, the very special case we are covering in Japan. Those nationwide systems are currently in production, being very intensively used every day. But as said before, we cover a range of different use cases, having many references at, let's say, a state level in the United States, but also regional levels or local levels, just giving services to maybe, from large communities to very small communities, trying to help everybody, because all lives are important, and all those places have important needs in terms about how to communicate to the public when something is happening. Finally, very proud of collaborating with many associations and forums like EENA, and we are really thankful to have the opportunity today to participate at the conference and having this time with you just to share our ideas about public warning. So, when we talk about public warning, we like to approach the public warning issue from the multi-channel perspective. Because we really think is what is important for you as emergency managers, let's say. When you start thinking about how to approach public warning, you are not thinking in technology. You are thinking in different things. At the end of the day, your objective is to have any kind of situation under control and keep everybody safe. This is the objective. And to reach or help you to reach that objective, we need to deploy systems maximizing what we call the attention rate. The attention rate is just a combination of 4 different factors. First is penetration. Okay, you need to reach the more people as possible. Otherwise, the public warning communication is totally useless. But it's not only a matter of reaching people in every kind of different situation you could be facing, but you need also to get the attention of the people. You know, you can reach many people, but if they are not paying attention to what you are communicating, communication is useless. Finally, okay, once you reach me as citizen and you get my attention, I need to understand the message. I need to clearly understand what you are asking me to do. So this is going to allow me to take the action you are asking me to do to keep myself safe. So multi-channel is key for all those factors. Let's say first, okay, you need to maximize penetration. So reaching people in different ways is going to help you reaching more people. And you need to reach people in very kind of different situations. For instance, okay, we are supporting all those fancy ways to reach your mobile phones, you know? But if something happens at night, mobile phone is switched off, at least at my home. What's happening? You need other things complementing mobile phones, for instance, just an example, you know? So you can keep the people awake if something happens at night, for instance. No? And it's very also important, considering the different groups of people you need to reach. Let's say it's not the same reaching teenagers in the emergency area than elderly people. You know? Maybe for teenagers, you need to think in a strategy based on social media, but elderly people, okay, are totally out of the social media. They are, you know, my parents are not following Twitter at all. You know? So you need to reach everybody in different ways. And it's demonstrated that finding information from different ways, different communication channels, on one hand, it helps the people for a better understanding of the situation. And second, it's reinforced the communication, so the people is aware and finally concerned about, okay, this emergency is for me, so I need to take the action. Because when you are quiet and relaxed at home, for instance, and you suddenly receive a message you are not prepared for, you may think it's not for you. Maybe, okay, I will wait. So if you are starting receiving inputs from TV, radio, other things, okay, you are going to be compelled to the action. In order to reach or to maximize these attention rates, Genesys approached public warning with our Genesys emergency management software platform, fully integrated warning and evacuation system. Okay, first is multi-channel. Said before, it's very important. So we are supporting a very different rates of ways to reach the people. From first, those communication channels based on the mobile networks, okay? Our system support end-to-end location-based SMSs and cell broadcasting that have been, you know, brilliantly introduced by our colleagues in Everbridge before. So all those advantages of location-based SMSs in terms of situational awareness, the quick way to reach massive populations with cell broadcasting is available end-to-end with Genesys, from the system unit to manage different communications in the front end to all systems to be deployed within mobile network operators in the back end. However, also very different ways of communicating people apart from those that you can combine at any moment, depending on the needs you could be having in terms of the emergencies you used to have in your territory. You know? From our long-range acoustic devices, let's say speakers sending voice to very long distances, to SMSs, voice calls, mobile applications, social media, emails, communication to, you know, desktop computers is also important when people is concentrated working, you know. You can have a pop-up in the computer too. Integration of beacons inside buildings, integration of strobes, we support the Common Alerting Protocol, CAP, to receive inputs and to send outputs to very different communication channels, such as, you know, TV, radio, billboards, whatever. So we support end-to-end a range of different communication channels. And we really think that it's very, very important, as I said before, to be flexible. Flexible in the design of the platform and the software, flexible in the way we can deploy the system for you. This means that we can cover all that range of different use cases. From, I don't know, deployment, on-premise deployment for those national cases you used to require for, to those cloud-based systems we can deploy for small cities, well, small to big cities, it's commonly more suitable for them. We deploy the system in the cloud, so they don't need to take care of the infrastructure, Okay, the platform fulfills the latest European Electronic Communications Code, the Article 110, because through the end-to-end support of location-based SMS and cell broadcasting. Of course, the system is able to combine both of them, so we can have the best of each communication way. Let's say you can have LBSMS, so you get that situational awareness functionality, number of people in different areas, even how the people, anonymous data, of course, is moving once you have started an emergency campaign communication. But you also have that capability of quick reach lots of people, even the whole country, in just a few seconds with cell broadcasting. From our perspective, this is very important, different ways to interact with the system. First, of course, you have the interface, out-of-the-box interface that can be customized for you. It's very simple, very easy to use. You can have all information at a glance. But you can also define a communication from scratch in just the same screen with just a few clicks. Okay, one click, selection channels, one click, I define the content, get the multi-language capabilities, send in different language to different people from different nationalities or different regions, like Spain, You need to send Spanish plus Catalonian in Catalonia, Basque in Basque Country, these kind of things, plus English, for instance, for international travelers. And we also offer a mobile command and control application. So you could be able to activate communications in the field. Sometimes the only people with having all information about the emergency are those people in the field, getting all inputs in real time. So you can also get your mobile phone with the right permissions of securized access. You are able to quickly activate a communication campaign in your area. Apart from those ways to interact with the system, we also support an API, an interface. So, okay, we understand that all countries already have a very complex and complete command and control infrastructure. So in many cases, the best for you is just to integrate this new communication functionality in the software you already have. Okay, it's not a matter of changing the screens or going to different computer or different software to activate communication. So this API allows you to integrate all the functionality in your current system very easily and very straightforward. So you have a platform supporting communications, you have the same interfaces you have for everything to activate communications. I already talked about output channels, but I would like to talk about the input data sources capability. It's very important for us to put together all information you could be needing, from early warning systems to sensors to weather information, all information you could be needing to have a hyper accurate and local knowledge about what's happening is going to help you not only to activate communications to the public, but to have a better understanding of the situation. And Genesis platform can help you in that way. Moreover, we are putting together that information so you can easily define conditions and parameters so the system can automatically activate communications to the public. In some cases, you have no time to waste. Just defining communication and making decisions. I can maybe thinking of earthquakes, for instance. Okay, not very common in Europe, but there are kind of situations you would like to have. Okay, a direct input, activating direct communications to the public. Very interesting feature. So, finally, okay, we are getting that data together, all those inputs, Moreover, we can be adding more information, traffic information, historical data of movements of the people, historical data, weather information, I don't know, any kind of historical data from any early warning system. So you can put together all that information with our Zone Haven feature, and you are going to have everything in one place. And you are going to have all together, everything in one place is going to help you, on one hand, in working in advance, preparing any kind of evacuation planning before something happens. So you are prepared to quickly respond to any kind of situation. But second, having all that information in the same place, you can share that information with all emergency agencies operating in the territory, even the others, the neighborhoods. So you can easily coordinate evacuations when something important is happening. And even more, you can share this information with population. So you have the guarantee population is going to have the most accuracy and official, this is very important, official information when something happens, where you need to remember that when something important is happening, people is getting inputs from many media, and in many cases, that information is not accurate and is not helping you, just the opposite. So you need to publish in just one place, easily for everybody, official information to prevent any kind of confusion. So, okay, this was all from my side. Thank you so much. We really expect your visit at our booth number 32. Would be our pleasure. My pleasure has been just already here to share this moment with you. Okay, we have 1 minute on something in case you have any questions. I would really appreciate it. I'm really glad to answer any kind of questions you could be having. Thank you so much. Good.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.
Appreciate it. Yeah. Thank you very much. Next we have Ronen Daniel, who's the CEO of Celltick. So,
Thank you.
Yep.
I need to get back this. Gracias. Me tengo que quitar el micro. Me tengo que quitar el micro. Oh, thank you, sir.
Okay, right. One more time. Next presentation will be done by Ronen Daniel, who is the CEO of Celltick. So please.
The presentation. Wonderful.
My name is Ronen Daniel, CEO of Celltick. In the next 20 minutes or so, I'll be happy to present with you, or to present to you our products, what we are doing in the field of public warning systems, cell broadcast, and also what governments plan in terms of public warning systems after the first wave of cell broadcast-based system deployment is over. We in Celltick, we are the world's largest cell broadcast provider. We have been around for the last 21 years. And when I say we are the world's largest cell broadcast provider, I mean in terms of deployments across mobile network operators. We have deployed our systems across 70 mobile operators around the world. And now if you assume that each mobile operator supports 3 or 4 mobile technologies, 2G, 3G, 4G, and 5G, then it means that we have connected our CBC for more than 200 mobile networks. As you can see, we are also the largest in terms of audience. Our cell broadcast messages are sent out of 800 million citizens in all these countries. And the reason for this huge audience that we are reaching to is because we are very active in very large mobile market countries like India, Indonesia, Vietnam, and so on. In total, our CBCs broadcast more than 1,000 messages per day in close to 50 languages. What you can see here is our worldwide deployments map. So every rectangle is a country. So you can see that in many countries, we have more than one deployment. So for instance, we are working with all the mobile operators in India. We are working with all 3 mobile operators in Lithuania, all 4 mobile operators in Israel, 3 out of the 4 mobile operators in Vietnam, 3 out of the mobile operators in Taiwan, 2 in Indonesia, and so on. Besides the CBC platform that we deploy across the mobile operators, we've also selected by certain governments or several governments to deploy an end-to-end public warning system. I can mention the government of India that selected us to deploy our system in the state of Andhra Pradesh. So India is divided into 28 states. And the state of Andhra Pradesh is the state with the longest coastal line in India, 900 kilometers, and 50 million citizens. And they suffer from cyclones. So every year, hundreds of people lose their life because of cyclones. And this is why India decided to deploy the first system in this particular country. This is a project that started a year ago. And we hope to finish it in the next few months. We've been also selected by the Qatar government to deploy the Qatari public warning system towards the World Cup games that will take place next year. And we've been also selected by the Israeli government, actually the Israeli Defense Forces, to deploy the public warning system in Israel. A few words on our CBC. So I don't use all this bold text with heavy technical details. I prefer large pictures that are very clear. So our CBC supports 2G, 3G, 4G, and 5G. In fact, we were the first vendor to deploy our CBC over a standalone 5G network. It happened in last January in Taiwan. The system is already live and over Nokia infrastructure. Our CBC supports all kind of radio vendors. Some of them, as you can see, do not even exist anymore, but their equipment still exists in some of the operators. So Ericsson, Nokia, Huawei, and the more established one, all the way back to Alcatel and Motorola, everything we've done, everything we support. And also in terms of public warning system, so here in Europe we have EU Alert, but in other parts of the world there are different standards like CMAS, and like the standards in Japan and Korea. All of them are supported by RCBC. Just to give you an idea, when we are talking about a project in a large mobile country like India, then an average mobile operator has between 3,000 to 4,000 RAN controllers. In Europe, the average is 20 to 30. So we are used to very large projects in terms of mobile networks. Also, for instance, in Russia, we have integrated our CBC to Beeline. And the challenge there was a little different, because in Russia, we had to support different 11 time zones, which was a challenge by itself. The CBE usually the CBC usually connects to the CBE, which is a cell broadcast entity. Cell broadcast entities are usually used by the people who operate the system, but we also provide a CBE for the mobile network operator, which allow the operators to do everything on the system in terms of run configurations, all kinds of dashboards, permissions, roles, profiles, reporting, testing. Everything is done from the operator's MNOs, from the MNO CBE, which comes together with our CBC. This is, for instance, a dashboard of our CBC, for which you can see the run controllers, the cells, the broadcast, KPIs of each and every system. There is an easy reach to any part of the system from this dashboard. In our system, we commit on zero downtime, which means that the system, as a mission-critical system, is never down. The way to achieve that is by using this active-active architecture that you've seen probably in different places, but our case is different because our active-active implementation is based on the application layer itself and not on the hardware capabilities. So we usually have two sites, and in each site we have local high availability, but both CBCs are ready to take the alerts from the CBE. So the two systems are working in parallel. The databases are always in sync. And when there is a problem with one of the CBC servers or any of the CBC components or even the mobile network itself, we manage to overcome that in real time and send the message out. This is something which is quite important, especially when we're talking about real emergencies, when you have to react fast, like what happened in Germany in a few weeks ago, which usually happens in Israel. And this architecture, together with the excellent performance time, which is less than 300 milliseconds that the message stays in the CBC, allows us to provide an excellent solution of any kind of emergency. When talking about public warning systems, then obviously it's never only a single delivery channel. So today we are providing, besides the CBC, also the CBE for the governments, a location-based SMS platform, an emergency app, a very unique SIM app, which I'll describe in a minute. And we also support delivery channels beyond mobile, TV, radio, billboards, sirens, anything that is required to complete the public warning system. All these delivery channels are managed by the command post that started as a CBE, but since CBE stands for Cell Broadcast Entity, today it is much more than cell broadcast, and it actually manages the entire event across all delivery channels. So what you can see here is a few screenshots of our command post, and you can see here all the delivery channels that are managed by the command post. Everything has been developed in Celltick, in-house, and has been already deployed in certain parts of the world. A few words on the emergency app. We can use the app for different cases. First, it's a complementary delivery channel for cell broadcast, or it can be used also for first responders. It's available on Google and on Apple devices, And you can see here a few screenshots of the app. So besides the alert, you can see some additional information that can be provided by the app. Of course, the app is interactive, and it also includes general, I would say, preparation content for people to understand what they need to do before, within, and post the emergency event. So if you know that an earthquake is about to come, or if your area is vulnerable for hurricanes, you can click here, and you can read what you need to do in order to prepare, to protect, and what to do post the event. This is a new, unique solution that provided, as far as I know, only by Celltick. And this comes in order to solve the problem of people who do not download emergency apps. As we know, that's the biggest problem of the apps. And what we've developed here is a SIM app that is available on all SIM vendors. You can download it over the air or order it from the factory, from the SIM vendors. And the app presents a location-based real-time alert when it is sent by the command post. The app is also interactive, so people can call for help and put their place on the command post map. So the first responders know where there is a big group of people who really need support and send the troops accordingly. You can also call any kind of emergency number, if you like. And the beauty of it, that it works on smartphones, it works on feature phones, and it requires zero integration with the mobile operator. Now, mobile operators are a crucial part of public warning systems that are based on mobile technologies, and sometimes there's also the link that takes, I would say, the more deployment time, because all these cell broadcast systems and location-based systems require heavy integration with the operators. With this one, zero integration. Put the app on the SIM card, and it works. As I said, the app is location-based, so when you draw a polygon on the command post map, only devices that are in this particular area will get the message. It comes with a unique audio alarm, as opposed to location-based SMS, which come with a normal SMS alarm. It's interactive, and as I said, installation is very easy over the air. You can use it as a complementary delivery channel, or instead of cell broadcast, if you like. We are talking a lot with many governments in different parts of the world, and we realize that governments are starting to prepare for the day after cell broadcast is implemented. And governments have lots of plans. They want to integrate the system to sirens. They want to integrate the systems to TVs, radio, billboards, ATM screens, anything that might get connected to the system. And eventually, everything will be connected. What we are doing in Celltick, we've developed what we call Magen TV. So when you deploy, or when you send a message from the command post, the alert also shows on the TV in the exact way that you see here. It can be also heard on an FM radio stations. It can be also sent to billboards, elevators, screens, anything that can be connected and can be reached. That is my last slide. I'm happy to take any questions regarding public warning systems or cell broadcast. operational, technical, commercial, anything with which audience, people in the audience here are struggling with when they try to build their own public warning system. And all our products are available for demonstration in our booth, for those of you who are interested to see a demo. And I'm thanking you for your attention. Thanks very much. No questions?
For you.
Okay.
Could you, you've obviously had a lot of experience, could you provide a specific example of how your cell broadcast system has saved lives or anything very concrete?
Yeah, well, that's a very interesting question. Yeah, I would say that the biggest event in my mind when our systems really saved lives was in the 2004 tsunami in Asia. At the time, we had different systems located in Sri Lanka, in India, Thailand, and Indonesia. And when we get the alert that the tidal wave is approaching, we started to alert people to run from the seashores to the mountains and find a place to hide from the wave. And post the events, there were like, I think at least 3 or 4 weeks of non-stopping alerts on when people can find water, when people can find medicines, and how to actually react to what happened. So I think that would be the biggest event when our system took place.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Next, we're going to hear from a company called F24 and Amélie Grangeat, and I hope I pronounced that correctly. Yeah, and Alessandro Lazari are going to present. So please.
Yeah, thank you.
Is this working? Hello? No, it's not working. Okay, you have the commander, okay. Thank you very much indeed for the opportunity to be with you today. I don't see my slides on screen already. It's a pleasure to be with you. It's the first time for me in the EENA conference. I see this is a wonderful community, so it's really a pleasure to share some thoughts with you today. I am Alessandro Lazari. I am key senior account manager at F24 and also in charge for the relationship with the public authorities and government. I will be stealing some moment of your time to introduce myself and to introduce our company, and then before leaving the word to my colleague Amélie that will talk about our public warning system. It's today's Amir. It's very interesting, all the topics we are sharing together. F24 is a vibrant group composed of more than 200 people, heavily rooted in Europe. We consider ourselves a leader in crisis management, incident response, and public warning solution. We have been active in this field for more than 20 years. We love what we do. We love to be along with our clients, which are private customer and public customer in the fields of crisis management and public warning, as I said already. In a moment, we're going to introduce to you our public warning solution, but before that, I would like to take a moment to highlight one thing that really we like to highlight every time we have the possibility to share thoughts with our colleagues and customers. We are very passionate about crisis management. We have people that have been working in this field for ages. So it's not only about the solution, it's about our knowledge of what can go wrong. We have experts in critical infrastructure protection, cybersecurity, crisis management, incident response. And our peculiarity is that we always couple this knowledge about what is needed to warn the people. And on this, I cannot really say much because there is Amélie with me, but we couple our knowledge of what can go wrong and the dynamics of supply chain, critical infrastructure, essential service. We are heavily rooted in the knowledge about Seveso directive, the latest NIS directive, and critical entity resilience directive. And we really want to join our clients in having the best experience with what we do for them, for saving lives. We are, of course, very active with more than 3,000 clients, 3,000 customers. We are heavily rooted in Europe. We have 13 locations worldwide, 9 of them are in Europe. We work along a large number of public organizations, as you can see, along all the sectors of industry and essential services. So my message with you is that we are really committed in not only providing the solution, but customizing and tailoring it down to the real needs that are very special. One size does not fit all of every client. And all in all, our main goal, mission statement is to enable you to save lives and your values. Thank you very much for your attention. With the permission of the moderator, I pass it on to Amélie. Thank you very much once again.
Thank you, Alessandro. I'm Dr. Amélie Grangeat. I've done a PhD in crisis management, so that's why he keeps talking that I'm passionate about crisis management. It will actually be the key topic of my talk, much more than public warning system, because when they say our solution enables you to save lives and values, technology has no interest if it's not useful. Let's say it like that. So, public warning system is just a step within the holistic approach that you must have for managing crisis. And there's, of course, the before the crisis, during the crisis, after the crisis. The risk management always starts with prevention and risk monitoring, meaning that all your systems, including your public warning system, but not only this one, must be able to connect to every risk monitoring tool that you can have. Then planning. Planning, of course, we all know that crisis is unpredictable. However, planning always helps, always. So your public warning system, but also all your tools around useful for crisis management must include those planning phase, and we will see that it's really useful after. Training and practicing. Same for all the crisis tools, but also for public warning system. When you ask for a public warning system, always ask for a simulation environment where you can train yourself, get used to click on the red button so that the day you really need those red buttons, you can click on it and you know what to expect from it. So that's really important. And then comes the incident. I would say incident with an S, because usually you don't have only one problem at a time. Everything falls on the same time. I have a very practical example in the slides just after. But so what do you do when you have incidents? Alerting and notifications. Notifications of your team, because it's really important that within your team, everyone understands the same thing and has the same level of informations. Alerting towards the population. I will talk about the public warning system in itself just after. But also manage the crisis. The incident and crisis management tool is totally a complementary tool of the public warning system, because you need to have checklist of what to do. You need to follow all the actions. You need to know where your people are, what are their actions for their own safety, but also for your own management. So incident and crisis management totally complete the public warning systems. Then recovery. We often miss this step, but it's the most important steps to learn and not do the same mistake twice. So your public warning system, your crisis incident management, or all the tools you use in your ecosystem must include this recovery and normalization phase. So that's the holistic approach before, during, and after a crisis event. What does it mean concretely? In F24, we propose all this approach with the crisis and incident management, which offers all those checklists, all this monitoring of activities, reports, if you put in place any hotline that the public can call to give feedbacks. Also public warning system, but you see it's actually just a piece. Why I say it's just a piece, even if the topic of this morning is public warning system, it's actually, this piece must be included within your ecosystem. It's not something that just pop up in the wind. You need to include it within your ecosystem or within the F24 ecosystem. Secure and reliable emergency notification. I think the word secure is really important here because you exchange critical informations that you certainly don't want to see outside. So that's for taking maybe a step back from public warning system and now of course, we focus on public warning system. So you all know about this European Electronic Communication Codes. It's probably why you are here. With this famous deadline to be ready in June 2022, I'm sorry to disappoint you, but this is just a step. So you won't stop working after June 2022. You were not waiting for June 2022 for doing things for crisis management. So, but I would like really to focus on the words in what does it mean to be compliant with this Article 110. They ask the public warning to be transmitted by providers of mobile number-based interpersonal communication services, mobile network operators. They ask to reach all end users, and they talk about effectiveness. So if we keep back all these words, the mobile network operators to send a public warning through mobile network operators. Right now, it means location-based SMS or cell broadcast technology. That's for June 2022. But when you think about getting ready for that, you must also think that after June 2022, you will have into 2023 or 2024 the satellite. So please keep in mind that this is just a step. You have cell broadcast and location-based SMS for being compliant in June 2022, but there's a future after that, and the choice you make for location-based SMS or cell broadcast must be in line with your strategy in 2 or 3 years. All people affected by the natural or man-made disaster must be warned. It raises the questions on how many people will receive your message, the compatibility. I think this morning someone of my competitor really talked about the compatibility of the GSM with the cell broadcast. Sorry, it's really an important point that you need to map and know if you go towards this cell broadcast technology. Okay, so we all know this European Electronic Communication Code. It's focused on location-based SMS or cell broadcasts, but we really must think in terms of ecosystem again. And the most important is the multi-channel public warning system. So this part is not the compliance of the electronic communication code, but I'm a crisis manager myself, and I know that the most important point is actually to reach everyone. Another of my competitor this morning also said that the point was to reach the maximum attention rate of everyone on the field. He's totally true. I mean, we need to think social network. You're here, thank you. We need to think social network, we need to think sirens, we need to think TV, we need to think all this very practical approach, because this compatibility with the EECC is really just a step. So, I've told you, we need to, I wanted to talk really practically. What does it mean a public warning system? We said it's here for saving life. We have a wonderful example here where it has been really useful. And it's important, you may have heard about these extreme events in Belgium and Germany, the flood that occurred just in July 2021. It's really important to understand that it was an extreme precipitation. So in 48 hours, we reached a flooding above the century level in terms of risk. So really something really, really important. We had a lot of death. So 37 casualties in Belgium. In Liège, it was really a problem because upstream, there were a dam under maintenance, under constructions, and they couldn't regulate correctly the flow. And we had a strong risk of dams break. So it's in these situations where you really need a public warning system. So in Belgium, they have chosen a location-based SMS, but it's really important that they have used all medias, on all social medias, on the sirens, everything, and I've heard mobile sirens as well, TV, radio, everything was mobilized, because it's not just sending an SMS or a cell broadcast, it's really making sure that everyone understands that right now there's a risk of dams break. And Liège is one of the biggest cities in Belgium. So we had to communicate toward the evacuation of Liège. And this morning as well, someone said, okay, it's good to send a message. The point is how the people understand the message. So you need to send it several times. You need to send it in a structured way to make sure that people understand. And one important thing is as well, who sends the message? Because the credibility is one of the things that makes people listen to the message or not. The flood wasn't only on Liège, of course. You see on this map, on this meteorological map, sorry, it was also on several regions. So all of these regions has been mobilized. One key point to know about Belgium is that it's federal, meaning every mayor is independent to launch his own alert with the medias he chooses. So it's really important because everyone has been mobilized with a coordination center, but everyone had the authority and the autonomy to react facing the flood. Why so? Because every mayor knows very well his population, the advantage of the field, and it takes this experience to really avoid casualties. When we talk about crisis, it's of course the flood itself, it's of course the evacuation, but it's also the cascading effect. I've done a PhD about modeling this cascading effect between critical infrastructures, so I'm really aware of it. The key point here was the area without electricity, but much more important, the area without drinkable waters. Here again, you must warn people about the fact that they shouldn't drink waters. Otherwise, you won't just have a problem with the flood, with the evacuations, but you will have also some troubles in your hospital with people getting really sick. So just to give you an idea on how strong it was, in Belgium we have declared a national day of mourning because it was so strong. And I know that in Germany as well, I don't know if there are German people, the situation were much worse. So concretely, what is a public warning system in this situation? It's the lifeline of citizens, literally. It gives to the citizen the feeling that there's someone who managed the crisis, who is here for you, here for protecting you, here for helping you if you need it. I've put some numbers, but actually we don't really, it's not the most important point here in terms of million of location-based stand. The most important, I would say, is the number of municipalities who has tried by themselves to protect their population and to communicate their population. So 40 information campaigns by 5 municipalities. What does it mean? Information campaign, it's everything I've told you about. Please prepare to evacuate. We are not in the situation to evacuate now, but we are about, be ready. Take your drinkable water, take your information with you. We may need you to evacuate. Information campaigns before. Then alerts campaign, evacuate, and send these alerts differently as a function of where you are, because of course you don't need to cross the river for going to a shelter. So it's really important to think this crisis management with a very practical information. Then the alert is good, but the most important is to send the final message, which is the situation is safe again. Please, you can join home. And that's the kind of alerts and also information campaigns that you will send together with prepare your sandbags to put it in front of your doors, prepare your drinkable water, and so on and so forth. So that's for the communications. A little point as well, every time we talk about public warning system as a software, it's a service. It's a service, why? Because we absolutely need to have a technical crisis team available for you who can help you to adapt in this crisis world. Because when it's crisis for everyone, it's also crisis for mobile network operators, meaning you will need to adapt on live. And that's really important to think when you think about mobile public warning system, to think of a service and to ask for a 24/7 crisis team that could help you in case of technical problems. So that's it. Our added value is, of course, the emergency alert system, which is really focused on crisis management. It's also the interconnectivity we can have with the gateway between our emergency alert system and all the other software you can have and all the other actors, because of course we are not alone in this world. It's everything which is linked to the setup and services. Setup, a lot of my of the other presentation has explained the difference of the setup. I won't go within this setup things. I'm just insisting on the service thing because it's really a complex word, but for you as a customer, as a crisis management, it must be super simple. You don't need to bother about technical details. That must be our role. So, live demonstration. If you are interested in a live demonstration, I'm here with my computer. I will do you a personalized live demonstration, and I will be really happy that we get in touch. And otherwise, if you have any question, you have all the contact details here. Please reach out. Thank you very much, and if you have any question, I'll be happy to answer.
Any questions?
Just a question related to the Belgian example. In this specific case, did you experience problems with for the mobile networks themselves because of the flooding, and how was that mitigated by that system?
Yeah, good question. So no congestion at all. That's the most important point. Problem, yes, but not linked to congestions, to link to one human failure on one of the mobile network operators. So that's why I said it's really important to have a service which is here to say, okay, there's been one human mistake in one of the mobile network operators, no problem, we can bypass it, and we have bypassed it on the wheel, and nothing has seen nothing in the field. So that's really important. That's why it's really important to have a service and not just a public warning system software. But no congestions.
Okay. Great, thank you so much.
Welcome, thank you.
Thanks, great presentation. So last but certainly not least is Frequentis. We're going to have I'm going to butcher your name. Gojmerac? Yeah, okay, there you go. So please, present.
Thank you very much. So welcome to my talk. My name is Gojmerac. I am a regional sales manager for Frequentis in Central Europe, covering 33 countries in the area of public safety. And today I would like to speak about public warning systems from a control room perspective. My talk will be structured in two parts. In the first part, I would like to give you a general introduction into public warning from the control room perspective. What do we mean by that? And in the second part, I would like to present a very concrete solution we have been developing together with our public warning partner, the company Regola from Torino in Italy. So, public warning from a control room perspective. You always hear, or very often hear, a simplistic narrative about the life cycle of an incident. So we hear that an incident occurs, the information is received by the public authority, the risk is being evaluated, a public warning is being issued, the citizens receive the warning messages, the incident gets resolved, and once everything is fine, an all-clear message is sent to the citizens. So our chain starts with the incident. Somehow, magically, the first responders, the control rooms, find out about this incident, and then we have a very linear chain of information, incident resolution, and all clear. What does it look like in reality? An incident occurs. How do you know that an incident occurred? So when you're a public warning control room where do you get the information from? So you may have some sources. Typically, public warning control rooms will have instrumental sources like sensors. They will have other sources like the news. But do you really want to find out about the incident from the news? Hopefully, as the responsible people in charge, you will be the first ones to know. And I remember a famous saying from George Bush Sr. from the first Iraq War. He said he found out on CNN. This is not something we should aim for. So we should aim for having the information first. And how can you be the first ones to have the information? Well, the first people who will have the information are simply the citizens who will call the PSAPs. They will see that something is happening. They will call 911 and inform the control rooms. And of course, the first responders in the field will also know, okay, something is going on, and they will of course inform their control rooms. This is the way how we should get the information that an incident has occurred. Then the chain continues, the risk is being evaluated, you already know this part. Warning information is being created or updated, the public warning message is being issued, and then you need to monitor the incident again. So you see we are already now creating a sort of a loop, so we have a recurrent process. But also when you monitor the incident, there is also the question, how do you monitor the incident? And you can monitor the incident again very similarly to the blue fields above. You get updates from the field, from the first responders. You get calls from the citizens. And of course, you also get other updates. And then hopefully, at some point in time, the incident will get resolved and you will send the all clear message. So let's focus now on the control room of the public warning authority and the operational staff who are in charge of actually issuing these warnings. What does their system landscape look like? They sit in their control room, and they will have their instrumental sources. Information from weather services may be even received via the common alerting protocol. Flood monitoring sensors, radiation monitoring sensors, may be CCTV, and it's not unusual for them to, of course, also listen to the news. They will in turn, or their agencies who supply information to the public warning control room, have in a cascade their own information sources. So for example, international agencies, international weather services, peer organizations, their own sensors. And this entire network feeds into the public warning control room. But if you remember the previous slide, we mentioned that the most valuable information for public warning will actually come from the first responders and from the citizens, because they are actually in the field and they know what is going on in the field. The public warning control rooms are not always co-located with the PSAPs. So this important information is present in the PSAPs. How does the public warning control room obtain this information? This information, which is probably present in another control room. And the keyword to this problem, or let's say the keyword to the solution for this problem, is interoperability. So we need to make the public warning control rooms interoperable with the PSAPs, with our regular day-to-day incident management control rooms for fire, police, and EMS. And once we are interoperable, and once this information flows between the different control rooms, then we can very purposefully, effectively utilize our public warning channels. But remember, don't purchase boxes. I think that some of the other talks already mentioned that. We are just starting a multi-year process. It will not finish mid-next year. So think about designing your system in a proper way. And the proper way means think about the interfaces. Think about the protocols between the individual components, because the interfaces and the protocols are the most time-invariant parts of your system. So please feel free to change the boxes later. If you design the protocols and the interfaces in a proper manner, you will be in charge of your system. And we as Frequentis, we are an open ecosystems company. We work based on open standards. And we want to enable you to choose, to pick and place the best. And we want to design your system together with you. So reiterating the first part, why control rooms? What does public warning have to do with control rooms? We would like to formulate 3 steps to success. The first step is we need to realize that public warning is a process, and it's a relatively complex, multi-stakeholder process. So make sure to manage the entire life cycle of the situation. Secondly, interoperability is key. You need to interconnect your public warning control room with the PSAPs. If you don't do that, you will work based on outdated information. And if you are a citizen, and if you receive a cell broadcast alerting you to something for which you found out 5 minutes ago in the news that the incident is over, you will never again pay attention to the cell broadcast. And you will be asking people how to hack your firmware such that it doesn't ring. And thirdly, remember, the interfaces are the most time-invariant part of your system. Design them properly from the beginning. And we offer our help as Frequentis to design this entire ecosystem together with you as the control room company. Now coming to the second part of the talk, we would like to talk about Notice, the product we have developed together with our public warning partner Regola from Italy. And a product which enables all of those things which we have talked about are necessary. So with Notice, you can define your alerts manually. You can have predefined alerts for different situations. When you find out about the situations, you can enter them into the system. But you can also define and trigger your alerts instrumentally based on sensors. So for example, if you have landslide situations, and if there is torrential rain, and if your sensor showed that the precipitation was so large that you need to trigger an alert for that area immediately, Notice can do it. So we support manual and automated alerts. And we are able to issue them not only to the general public, which has been the focus today, but also to the first responders. And this is a very important issue for 2 reasons. One is process-based and one is technological. From a process point of view, you want to alert your first responders a couple of minutes before you alert the citizens, especially if you are alerting people about major events. So when major events happen, the people will run to the first police officer, to the first fire brigade member, to the first EMS person. And it's good if those people know 1 minute in advance before the citizens what is going on. And the technological reason is that the public warning problem, or let's say the first responder alerting problem, is technologically a close friend of public warning. So when you design your public warning system, think whether you would like to also renew your first responder alerting systems. You can do both together, and then you achieve maximum efficiency. And last but not least, I would like to focus on this lower part at the bottom, third-party command and control systems. You need to be interoperable with those. One common way to issue alerts is to use a web-based interface. You type, you select a territory, you select a category of alert, and you type a message or you use a pre-configured message. The other way, if you are interoperable with the control room, is that you use protocols like the Common Alerting Protocol, and you directly send a CAP message from the PSAP to the public warning control room, and out it goes to the citizens. You don't need to deal with yet another interface, with yet another system. You can just stay with your present command and control landscape in the PSAP and trigger public warnings from that system. We also need to think, when we think about public warning, about complex federal structures, and this is something which we reflect. So we are aware of the fact that different persons in charge are responsible for different territories. So we support alerting at the country level, the state level, the district level, and also at the level of municipalities. And they all work together. So if you are a federal ministry, for example, of health, and there are pandemic issues, you can alert the entire country. At the same time, the municipality can issue alerts which are more specific to that municipality. So all of those players need to seamlessly interwork in the system. And last but not least, of course, your public warning system needs to support multiple channels. So we, of course, support the two most discussed channels, which is location-based SMS and cell broadcast. But we also support traditional channels like sirens. We support very new channels like social networks, instant messaging. We support variable message signs in the public transportation field. And for large office buildings, when you need to evacuate them, remember also again the possibility for private alerting. We offer a Windows desktop application. And of course, in some cities, we are also, Regula's experience offers us the possibility to trigger the traffic lights, to regulate the traffic lights in the cities. So what are the key takeaways? I think that they will be quite familiar to you. Public warning is a process, and our notice product is a system which flexibly caters to your processes. Remember, at all levels of government, from the federation to the municipality, interoperability is key. Don't think about public warning without thinking about the control rooms, about the PSAPs. The most valuable information for public warning is present in the PSAPs. Utilize that information. Make those two worlds interoperable. And Notice can do it, of course. And last but not least, the interfaces define your system. Don't think in terms of boxes. This EU Article 110 shouldn't lead to us procuring a system in isolation, which will be able to trigger alerts in a perfect manner, but nobody will know when to trigger the alerts. Think in an integrated manner, design your system properly, and then feel free to pick and place the best products for the individual parts of your system. If you are eager to find out more, you can find me and my colleagues at booth 25, just next to the main conference hall. And there we will happily discuss with you all the features of Notice. Also, our public warning partner Regula is there with us, and we can also demonstrate the system to you. And by this, I would like to thank you for your attention. Thank you.
We have a few minutes left for questions, if anybody has any. I have one for you then.
Thank you.
You mentioned at great length the connection between PSAPs and emergency management. my experience in the United States is that these are two silos that rarely talk to each other.
Mm-hmm.
They tend to be very separated.
Mm-hmm.
So as Europe moves toward this deadline of June 2022 for emergency alerts, what is your assessment as to how well the PSAP community is fitting into the bigger picture of emergency warnings in terms of how they're coordinating reaching this goal together that you so well talked about?
I can speak primarily also about the situation in Austria, in our home territory, where I have done many projects and also innovation projects in the last years in a collaborative multi-stakeholder setting, and they are not that great interconnected. So they are not ready for this integration yet. And we are raising awareness about the fact that you should get the information from that place where the information is present. And in this sense, our notice system supports this publish-subscribe paradigm. So there have been many EU projects since 2013 trying to bring the stakeholders together to devise technical means for easy information exchange, for seamless interoperability. And together with Regula, we have been working in many such projects, and we are evangelizing our stakeholders to interconnect and to make those information flow. And so far, our experience also in other European countries is that this has not everywhere really been the case, but I think that through our efforts, we have managed to raise the awareness that we need to do that.
Very good.
Yeah.
Last call for any questions? Oh, yeah.
I think that information this works quite fair that the awareness is achieved. What I think is the big problem is what to tell the public and who takes the responsibility to make a certain message to the public. I think this workflow is the most tricky, and I wonder whether you implemented means to support this workflow with your IT systems. That means what really tell the people, who decides it, who has to clear this information, because this is, I think, the critical point.
Yeah, I think that this is a job for the stakeholders at the different levels of government, and especially if you take the example of Austria, the federal level and the state level, with the national warning centers in the individual federal states, and I think that they need to agree on a common process, and they need to take all the PSAPs along, because the PSAPs are not always governmental organizations. I think this is also something we need to highlight. So we need to raise this awareness, and we need to get also all the NGOs on board and emotionalize them positively, such that they want to share the information in a timely manner with the public warning control rooms. So I'm completely with you. I think that we need to do a lot of evangelization in this area and make the people understand that if the public warning authority doesn't have timely information, that we will not achieve a high-quality public warning system in the country. You can have the best technology. Without timely information, we don't have a chance to have happy citizens. We'll have citizens who will be complaining about outdated information. So I think this is a big task for the next years, yeah.
Great. Well, thank you very much. Thank you to everybody who presented. Great presentation.